Welcome back to Bay Area Focus. Joining me now is Sarah Granger, author of the Digital Mystique, How the Culture of Connectivity Can Empower Your Life Online and Off. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So tell me about this book. It's a long title. So what does it all entail?
Yeah. So it's funny. The title was originally going to be Your Life Online because it's a primer on digital life. And as I was trying to figure out the subtitle, I kept coming across like Mystique, and so I decided on the publisher like the Digital Mystique, and then they came up with this long subtitle to explain it. But essentially, it's really about all the different aspects of our daily lives that we deal with online, with the internet, and particularly social media. So your how you deal with your friends online, your digital identity, your kids online, building communities, and of course activism and all of the things that we do to engage with news also, and even some trickier topics like what do you do if someone dies, or if you're dying, and how you create your digital identity around those things, and then managing your time. So all the
When it comes to social media, what are we doing wrong?
Oh my gosh. Well,
is that an entire chapter?
Yeah. You know, it depends on the situation, but I think that a lot of people think that it's a catch-all and that you can say everything that you want to say online, and so that's why people can get into trouble, because they're saying things that you wouldn't say, like when we're talking one-on-one. And really, you shouldn't be doing anything online that you wouldn't be comfortable doing in a personal setting. And yeah,
I have a friend who's a HR manager, and she says that when she gets applications, she goes directly to social media just to see who the real applicant is. Definitely,
and that's something that I tell people all the time. And you have to, particularly college students, when they're looking to get out into the workplace, like think about what you put on Instagram and what you've been doing with your digital persona. Take a look. We call it a vanity search. You know, search and see what's out there, and try and make it as professional as possible.
Have we made the internet, or have we made this too much a part of our lives? I mean, it seems like a lot of our lives is online now.
Well, that's a tough one for me to answer, because I've been online since I was 9. I was a very early adopter, and but I do think that there's everything in moderation. You don't want to spend all of your time on the phone looking at Twitter or Instagram or whatever. But I think that we have the opportunity to really enrich our lives with social media and get closer to a lot of people, friends and family who are across the country or across the world, and we didn't have that before.
Sure. I mean, in your book, you talk about everything from online dating to cyberbullying.
Yes, definitely.
There's a lot to cover there. Okay, so this presidential election, a lot of, we're talking a lot about what's happening online and electronic voting. And what is your take on all of this?
Well, it's been very interesting to see the progression over time, because I used to work with campaigns a lot on digital media, and back in 2008, that was the first election that we had the majority of American voters actually online researching the candidates and the issues. So now, this year, we had it's amazing amount of engagement. We had also the Facebook groups where people were talking. We had a lot of activism on Twitter. Email obviously played a big role, and then of course the hacking that's come up. So it really shifted to playing a dominant role, I think, in this election cycle.
Sure, we've heard that the Russians could have hacked the system during the presidential race. And do you think that could have happened? That could have had something to do with the results of the race?
Well, to me, it seems like if you look at it in a more broader perspective, the technology and the internet and how people were using it, the whole broad picture played a bigger role than anyone expected. And so I think the hacking was a piece of that. It's hard to know how much of a piece of it was, because we have the fake news, for example. And so how much did that play a role versus
some have speculated that the fake news on social media that swayed people.
That could have possibly played a bigger role than the hacking itself, but it's really hard to tell. And We don't know if anyone actually hacked the election itself. We can hope that that wasn't a problem and that it was just the hacking of the email accounts before the election and the denial of service, but it's tough to know.
Any suggestions for changes in voting procedures in the future?
Well, so there's an organization called Verified Voting, and they do really good work in this area. And really what they advocate, and a lot of the computer security experts in the field advocate, is having a paper audit trail and always having backup procedures. And also, so there was a Wired article that came out this past week that pretty much said we should be auditing every election. We should be looking at every at the whole process.
Okay.
And, you know, it's different per state. California, we looked at the voting machines and we realized that they had problems, and we have a system now that makes it a little more accountable.
Well, good suggestions. Thank you so much for coming on the show and telling us about your book. And for more information on Sarah and the Digital Mystique, please log on to sarahgranger.com. Again, that's sarahgranger.com. Coming up next, an author speaking about your power to choose bliss. We'll be right back.